I will do my best to pay attention.
I'm going to call this Public Works Committee meeting to order. Detect a quorum. Start with Resolution 17.
Quorum detector. We just both realized you must have a quorum detector.
Yeah. Yeah. Resolution 1720 or 1270. This is great. I'm already on vacation mode. Authorize the Director of Public Property or his designee to exercise an option agreement for the purchase of a flood-prone property located at 3811 Dartmouth Avenue for Metro Water Services. And I would move approval. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Wait, real quick, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, sorry.
Which bill are you on?
I'm sorry, Resolution
A resolution, okay.
1270. Go. All those in favor?
Yeah,
And we recommend approval.
Get off that leg.
I know we just recommended it, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go
The
ahead.
question came up briefly at the end of planning on these. Do we tend to, like, what, in terms of market rate and price point and all that, and just for future reference on any of these, what's the protocol we follow there? I guess I'll ask maybe Mark or Sharon or something.
We offer fair market value. If you're asking, do we pay fair market value, we pay fair market value.
Okay, and
in the existing conditions.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
As if it's not in a floodway. So if it was
Right.
on top of a hill, you could, yeah.
So I had a question from somebody calling up. So once we buy it, okay, and we're in theory going to tear it down, are there cases of the police using any of these structures that the water department owns?
We give opportunity for police and fire to use the houses for training purposes. As of yet, we've not put one in place, but the police SWAT team will go in and do SWAT exercises where they blow holes through walls and doors and ceilings and whatever else, windows, but typically that is...
You let us know the next time that happens. Yeah.
But we do, and they typically will notify the neighbors and let them know what's going on.
That's good to let the neighbors know too, at least.
They'll call the police because they're already there.
Yeah. All right, we'll move ahead. All right, we recommend approval. Resolution 1278 by Councilman O'Connell and others authorizes Chang Chi Cho and Grace Park DBA Bamberger to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 2223 4th Avenue North.
I would like to move approval.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And we recommend approval. Resolution 1279 by Councilman O'Connell authorizes Pant LLC to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 210 4th Avenue North. Councilman O'Connell.
I will move approval. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And we recommend approval. Resolution 1280 by Councilman Kendall and others authorizes West End Smiles PLC to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 1800 West End Avenue. And I would move approval. We have a letter asking for approval. Do we have a second? All those in favor? Aye. And we recommend approval. Substitute 1157 by Councilman Syracuse amends the Metro Code of Laws to establish and preserve a 50-foot floodway buffer along the Cumberland River. Councilman Syracuse. Second. And
Discussion here, I would just ask the departments, I mean, I'm assuming there's general comfort with this.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
I worked on this in close consultation with the department. I think a lot of folks think that this is broader than it really is. It's focused, as I sent out on my email, it's focused on just that Zone 1 buffer to ensure that we maintain a 50-foot buffer, that we do not allow variances anymore to be able to develop in what the stormwater manual designates a no disturb zone.
Okay. Appreciate that, Councilman.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We recommend approval. Ordinance 1179 by Councilman Cooper and others approves the plans for a construction and demolition solid waste processing facility to be located at 4648 Ashland City Highway. And we have a proposed substitute, Councilman Cooper.
Well, I would move the substitute, but I also would like to introduce the new District 1 Councilman, my friend Jonathan Hall,
Welcome.
who has a hurt foot but managed the last weeks of the campaign limping around here. And again, as we talked about last time, he'll be certified by the next meeting. And so for the third and final reading, it will be his bill. Has a community process public meeting tonight, and again, I know Public Works is going to have a brief discussion about how this fits into our solid waste plan, and wanted him to be here for that. So I will move the substitute on the floor, but really it'll revert back for the next meeting to Mr. Hall. So with that, would Public Works want to sort of talk about how it fits into our solid waste plan?
So, as you all know, we have been working for the past year on developing a long-term zero waste master plan for Nashville and Davidson County. As part of that plan, TDEC funded a 2-season waste characterization study. And what that study showed is that we have approximately 20% of of what we're throwing in the landfill right now is organic, and it could be diverted through composting, other recycling processes, including anaerobic digestion, which is what this legislation is proposing through the Jackson Law. So finding ways to manage organic waste is something that's been a big challenge for us in Middle Tennessee because there haven't been a lot of options. A couple years ago, the compost company got a permit to operate a facility in Cheatham County, which is right now our closest food waste processing option. Metro has a contract with them to take food waste from our own buildings, and we operate a couple of residential drop-off sites, one at East Convenience Center and the other one at the Omaha Convenience Center. And really, that has been the only option. That type of composting is something that's not well suited to a urban environment, sort of open piles, open aerated piles, and there can obviously be some odor and things like that. What Resource Capture is trying to do is a contained system where everything is handled indoors, and the odors, the methane, everything is captured and handled. So having options for food waste, additional options for food waste, is going to be very important over the next few years. If we start seeing increasing food waste reduction, we will need additional capacity to handle that. This year, Kroger just voluntarily nationwide started their Zero Hunger, Zero Waste program, and all Krogers in Nashville and around the country are, first of all, donating edible food. So in Nashville, it goes to Second Harvest, and secondly, they all have a organics dumpster outside of their stores for food waste that's not edible that can go to composting and various products. So we're going to see, I believe, more and more of that over the coming months, and this facility is definitely going to be a piece of that overall strategy on how we're going to manage our food waste going forward.
All right. Any questions of Sharon? Yes, ma'am.
So it sounds like the new facilities really fit into our new zero waste proposal, and kind of segue to that. So you are very much in favor of. It's a great opportunity for us to embrace it. That's
anaerobic digestion is becoming a very popular way to handle food waste because it can be done in more urban environments. As opposed to other types that, stuff is just sort of laying out there and slowly decaying. So, yeah. Thank you. So as far as a type of facility that's good in a city or closer to a city, it's a very viable option, absolutely.
So I think the way the blueprint shows it looked like all enclosed and really contained odor and some gas and so forth, so environmentally pretty safe. We can assume it's really safe.
It should be, and I'll be honest, I'm not an engineer, but in talking to some engineers who have seen these type of operations and helped to build these type of operations, it is an increasingly popular way to manage food waste, partially because you're eliminating or reducing any odor issue, but also you're able to generate energy off of it to help operate the facility or even to create a kind of natural gas. And engineers in the room, if I'm like wandering off the planet, let me know.
I'm actually here on behalf of Ms. Prasad, who started, she's on a plane and getting back. My name's Elizabeth Murphy, and just to pick up on what Sharon said, it is fully enclosed on the plans. It's 8,500 square feet. It has an ammonia scrubber. She's going to have a heck of a time, and she's already halfway through raising a lot of money. So to see this kind of effort from the private sector is really impressive, and I'm not paid. I'm just trying to support her and help her and make all connections I can, because once I saw the plan, I was just shocked and amazed that a private citizen would undertake this for our community, and it's a pretty good plan. I also would just say I don't think that from a technical standpoint the Jackson Law even applies, because the state statutes would technically treat this as a recovered materials facility, but I think TDEC is trying to approach it out of an abundance of caution and really respect Davidson County's authority. So you're getting belt and suspenders, as we say in the law. Recovered processing facilities are supposed to be different than solid waste because what comes there has already been pulled out of the main solid waste line. So when you're just getting a bunch of stuff dumped at a facility and they're sorting it, that's solid waste processing. When the stuff that goes to the facility has already been pulled out and it's just the food waste, now you're in the recovered materials department. So you're really far ahead of almost every other type of facility that would even be talking about this. So I just wanted to make that point, and Ms. Prasad would have made it but for the airlines.
So, Councilman Cooper, do you want to adopt the substitute and move it on second? Is that right?
I'd like to adopt the substitute and move it.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the substitute. Any further discussion?
One quick note, I think Mr. Jameson here, this is, I believe, our first at-bat under the Jackson Law, which has it been invoked? Well, there's been one other?
Yeah, two actually.
Two, actually. Okay, I am behind. And so per the state requirement, this has to be adopted within a month. There's a month period for the county legislative body to adopt it or not, which is part of the reason for the time pressure, which has been imposed by the state process, the belt and suspenders of using the Jackson Law for approval.
Any further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jameson is not here to me. I have a late filed amendment I would like to ask permission to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It is simply a few more recitals that put into the bill some of the language that Ms. Smith just explained, that this is part of the zero solid waste master plan, and that it's a very energy efficient way to deal with food waste as opposed to simply putting it in a landfill. And I would like to amend the substitute.
Yep. All right, so we have the substitute properly before us, and I'm trying to find I thought I saw it, maybe not there. So the amendment just adds some recitals, is that right? Some whereas. So I would move the amendment. We have it's properly seconded. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. We adopt the amendment. Now we're on the substitute as amended. Any further discussion? Thank you, Council Labor.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
Just so that you all know, and I forgot to mention this, as part of Public Works and Metro helping on this project, we have helped apply for a clean energy grant with TDEC, which we will be coming back to you later to accept, and on behalf of this project, and then pass through to resource capture. So it's going through legal and the applicant's attorneys and everything. So Metro has also been trying to help with this project.
Just a question. I like the idea, and I think it's a great first step, but I think it will be, we need to ask how's the community engagement, our neighbors, embracing this project and so forth. Would you be able to offer some?
And again, that's why I'm thrilled with Jonathan being here. Because of the timing, the acceptance of some grants, it seemed necessary for the applicant to go ahead and determine whether this site could be used. And then with Jackson Law, you have the 30-day timetable. And then we've only had our new councilman for a few days. So tonight is the public hearing, and then hopefully tonight we'll be announcing a community meeting really conducted by the new councilman going forward. And then he'll handle the bill on third reading based on his community feedback. What is visible from the road is 4 of the 5 acres of this is a community garden. So it is a community garden. So in terms of having a sort of really innovative facility that's really surrounded with a community space, it seems a little unfair to ever have called it in any of these captions due to the Jackson Law a landfill or a C&D site or even solid waste processing, as it's being a recovered materials recycling site, which is really surrounded by a community garden. And again, I know the applicant's strong desire is to use it really as a teaching center in Davidson County, and really as a model for the southeastern United States. So from that standpoint, it's super exciting.
Yes.
But the words on it are very scary. So
I think the plan itself is really well done, and I'm really excited about having this one of the first kind in Davidson County. But just wanted to make sure our community is fully engaged and supported.
really anywhere in the southeast, right? This.
I think it might even be more than the southeast. This will make us look really good if we can get it done. It's ahead of its time. It's more than time, and I think the time that Ms. Prasad has put into researching how these facilities work and who's got them and how much they cost, I was really impressed. She has more than done her homework. She knows more than most engineers do about it. So she brought all that to bear on the project, and there's no cutting corners.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Can you talk about conversations with the surrounding farming?
I'm sorry, we've talked I would love to have more conversation about it. I want to get through the other bills. Okay. All right, we're on substitute, and we recommend for approval as substituted. As amended, excuse me, thank you. Substitute 1202 by myself, amends Metro Code of Laws to regulate dockless bicycle and scooter operators and to establish a permitting system. Y'all should have gotten from me an email and on your desk a lengthy summary of the lengthy ordinance. Basically, it puts in place a permitting system, as the ordinance says, for all kinds of dockless vehicles or docked vehicles as well. Scooters, it's mostly scooters, bicycles, electric bicycles, but it anticipates anything going forward and classifies them all as shared urban mobility devices, which is a catch-all to hopefully catch everything going forward. There's a lot in the bill. You can see the mark-throughs and what was been taken out but mostly added to try to strengthen the bill, mostly about operating on sidewalks, regulating the companies, and it's really, at least I hope that it's, we've tried to be purposeful about setting some pretty strong guardrails as far as a regulating process and but encouraging companies to come in, but they have to really partner with Metro and work with Metro because the TLC has some pretty strong regulatory authority to regulate them as when they come to town. Councilman O'Connell, I recognize you.
All right. So I appreciate the work that Chairman Elrod has put into this bill and the forum that has been set for Metro and the platforms to get to this as a good faith negotiation. I think my biggest concern in representing the district, where we already saw the extent of the activity when Bird was briefly on the streets of Nashville in particular, but now knowing that there are other operators and that this won't just be electric scooters, I do have severe concerns that we have not had any real stakeholder sessions that accept public input, suggestions, feedback, etc. So my personal preference here would be that we do at least a one meeting deferral.
And all right. I'll agree to a one meeting deferral, and I'll just say, publicly, we've let's see, Byrd came in May, I think it was, and I think I was publicly clear about trying to get something passed quickly, but also being very purposeful and trying to get a good ordinance. And I think we've got a very strong ordinance good to go tonight after input from the mayor's office, Metro Legal, Metro Planning, Metro Public Works, Walk Back Nashville, several companies, some other folks in the biking community, and I think a lot of the concerns, frankly, that downtown businesses have are addressed in the bill, or can be addressed later on in the regulation process with the TLC. So I'll agree to only a one meeting deferral, and those companies I think have agreed to talk with the downtown groups. But I think even tonight the ordinance is ready to go, but only because Councilman O'Connell's asking for it. I'll go along with a one meeting deferral.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, even if we were to go forward with it tonight rather than doing a deferral, could the approval be contingent upon the fact that we have a community meeting as part of that approval? Are you seeking just for people to have additional input or to have the community meeting so they can continue to weigh in? Because I think the ordinance still is something that can be amendable, and the ordinance can
If
be...
it passes on second reading tonight, it actually can't be amendable. Sure, we can come back to the Code of Laws, but if we then come back through that, that's another 3-reading process and a considerable amount of discussion that goes into that. I think it's not asking too much of either the sponsor or the operator communities or frankly the metro regulatory environment to say, yeah, we're going to go out there and allow the actually impacted folks to kick the tires on this in terms of, hey, we think we got the numbers right, but this is more from the metro standpoint. What are we looking at here? So I think a community meeting prior to the end of the amendatory process is totally appropriate.
Okay.
Is there any discussion?
Well, I have a quick question. I don't know who here might have insight on this. Just the police department's input on whether the code, every time there's a new technology or a new mode of transportation, I noticed it has the National Highway Traffic Administration, but where are they?
Last week sometime I emailed Chief Anderson, haven't heard back yet. So I've asked for his input, but Freddie may have something else.
Well, so to that end, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I do know that Metro Legal has detected that there is some ambiguity, right? Because I will say from my constituent base, from downtown employees, from downtown owners and operators of businesses, the chief concern was that when Byrd started operating, we saw a considerable number of their users riding on sidewalks, right? And that this created hazards for pedestrians. So at one of the few meetings where this topic was discussed, but not in a session that was focal to this, an officer from Metro Police asserted that he was not convinced that they should be operating legally on the roads. Metro Legal has also detected some ambiguity. Metro Legal thinks that they can operate legally in bike lanes, that they can operate legally on sidewalks outside of the city center, like bicycles, but that there are portions of between Tennessee Code Annotated and Metro Code of Laws that offer ambiguity about whether they can be legal. I have asked our office to share with Councilman Elrod that analysis. It might be that in these next couple of weeks we also have to do some further, anticipating a tune-up to where they are, because I think it is going to be unacceptable to the urban core for this to be something that operates on sidewalks in the city center.
And I'll just say real quickly that everything that can be put into an ordinance to prohibit them on downtown sidewalks is in this, including a $25 fine if you're operating or parking improperly, and that includes operating on a sidewalk. And I think that's a fairly high fine when it's, I think, 15 cents a minute to operate, at least one of the companies. So, yes, ma'am.
I'd like to ask John to just share with us a little greater clarity on the use of these on sidewalks anywhere.
So there is a state law from at the latest 1902, it may be before that references a prohibition on driving your horse or carriage or any other vehicle on a sidewalk, and it makes it a Class C misdemeanor. That law is still in effect, and TDOT has acknowledged that, yeah, that's the law. It says what it says. You can't have a vehicle on the sidewalk, period. Anywhere.
Isn't there not some exclusion for bicycles specifically?
There is in the Metro Code.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah, but this is a state law that we found a couple weeks ago, and
It's fairly old.
it is very old. It also says that you cannot tie your horse to the tree if the tree is next to a sidewalk. So keep that in mind.
So there may be an approach after this to actually work with our legislative delegation for legislation not to preempt this, but to clarify their.
I guess what, Mr. Chairman, I think this is kind of my point is I don't think that, those folks that have, let's say, had near scooter encounters are going to be given much confidence if we can't point to where these devices are supposed to operate legally. And that's, again, why I'd be more comfortable with the deferral than passage tonight.
Can I ask a question to Sam? Sam, do the bird have GPS on them?
They do, yes.
So do you keep track of how they move around the city?
I think that information is available. It's something that's proprietary, I believe, and it's nothing we necessarily share, but yes, we know where they are.
I guess the question for you represent birds, right?
Yes.
So the question is, can you guys self-regulate and don't rent to somebody that is repeatedly driving on the sidewalk?
Yeah, so the answer to that is yes. The riding on the sidewalk will be a little bit hard to determine. A lot of the issues that John and I worked through related to parking on sidewalks, and we actually require that a user, in order to finish their ride, takes a picture of where they park their bird, and we can check those repeated offenders of parking in places that will block right-of-ways or sidewalks. Can be cited or kicked off the app and not be able to use them again. So yeah, we certainly can. The riding on sidewalks is a little bit more complicated. A lot of times people don't feel safe riding on the streets. But the way the bill is written today, in the downtown core and the urban areas, there is no riding on sidewalks. And it says it on every single one of our units, do not ride on sidewalks.
My point, if I may continue, Chair, is that I know when I'm on my Google map, it knows that I'm on the sidewalk or that I'm going across the street. I mean, you can look at the walk-in version of it, and it's very precise. So one thing that happened when we work with the short-term rental community is that they didn't step up and self-regulate like they should have. And so we had to step up afterwards and do all these regulations just to try to address the fact that there was a vacuum there. So a word of caution to the companies that are coming here is, I'd rather if you guys self-regulate and keep people from violating our rules than having to come up with some kind of legislation to socially engineer people, teaching people not to ride on the sidewalk. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but...
Councilman, are you suggesting we outfit these devices with, an electrified device that could shock people if they ride on the sidewalk?
No, I think that's illegal. But what I was suggesting is they will know if somebody...
Kids in cages these days, so I guess we can shock them when they're on the scooter.
Well, my point is, if somebody has a history of driving on the wrong place, then they get a 30-day not ability to rent the item. And so that's what I'm talking about.
Your point is very well taken. I mean, the company wants to be a great partner to Metro, and I think we will do everything in our power to keep folks off sidewalks. It is not good for us if people's walks are being blocked or are feeling unsafe being a pedestrian on the sidewalk. It reflects poorly on us. So it's absolutely on us to take on a lot of that responsibility to keep people off sidewalks. So the point is taken. I'll take that suggestion back to Bird.
Thank you, Sam.
And I'll just add, there's a prohibition on it in the ordinance and possibly in state law and Metro Code already. But no matter how many times we prevent it, it may happen as people learn how to use scooters and bikes, and even in some parts of town, people that avid in the biking community know they should be on the sidewalks, know they should be in bike lanes, but because they're not protected, they have to feel safe to go onto the sidewalk. So there's still, I think, an infrastructure issue, and really just it'll be some of the growing pains of the process of we're learning new devices as we switched apparently from horses to cars. We'll have to adjust from allowing scooters or sharing the road with scooters and bicycles, I think, on a more frequent basis after this is passed. So, all right. I will move for a one meeting deferral. Is there any further discussion?
Are we clarifying that's after the public hearing?
I don't think there is a public.
There's not a public hearing.
We got one. Which, that's why I'm trying to create the space for at least a public meeting.
Gotcha.
All right. All those in favor of a one meeting deferral, say aye.
Aye.
And we recommend a one meeting deferral. All right, substitute 1203 by Councilman Rosenberg amends the Metro Code relating to scooters, inline skates, and roller skates by defining scooter and removing certain requirements. And Councilman Rosenberg asked that we adopt the substitute. Did he have an amendment, or is it just? I thought it was just a substitute.
Just a substitute.
He said amend it and defer, but I think we've already adopted the substitute here. Councilor Rosen, I thought we adopted your substitute last time. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you want how long do you want to defer? One meeting?
I'd like to amend. There's a housekeeping amendment I'd like to put on, and then did you defer to your one meeting?
Yes. Sorry if you're joined with a hip with mine if I'm holding you back.
It's okay. We need to clear up the fact that if yours passes and mine passes, there's nothing regulating privately owned motorized scooters. There will be a hole in between, so we need to address that anyway.
As long as it's not a tunnel, I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
All right, so we have a housekeeping amendment. So we've got the substitute before us.
I move the amendment.
And a second on the amendment. All those in favor of the housekeeping amendment say aye. Aye. We adopt the amendment. All those, we have a motion for a one meeting deferral. It's properly seconded. All those in favor? Aye. And we have a one meeting deferral after amended. All right, ordinance 1247 by Council Lady Henderson and others authorizes the acquisition of certain right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights by negotiation or condemnation for purposes of Public Works Project Old Hickory Boulevard sidewalk improvements. So we have a letter asking for approval. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. We recommend approval. Ordinance 1248 by Council Lady Haywood and others authorizing the acquisition of certain right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights by negotiation or condemnation for purposes of Public Works Project Bellevue Drive sidewalk improvements. And I would move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And we recommend approval. Ordinance 1249 by Council Lady Roberts and others, abandoning existing sewer main and easements and to accept new sewer and water mains, sanitary manholes, a fire hydrant, and easements for properties located at 685 and 693 Vern Avenue. We have a letter asking for approval.
Move approval.
And properly seconded. All those in favor? Aye. We recommend approval. Ordinance 1250 by Councilman Kendall and others, abandons a portion of 25th Avenue North right-of-way. And we have a letter asking for approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. We recommend approval. Ordinance 1251 by Councilman Kendall abandons a portion of Alley 931 right-of-way. We have a letter asking for approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Properly seconded. Any discussion?
One question.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know, sponsor's not here, if anybody answered that question. Between 1250 and 1251, because we're removing the 25th, street, so that east side of the property and west side of the property is owned by same property owner. So that will create like a big 2-acre lot. So I'm wondering if anybody knows what's the plan for that large lot.
The plan is?
I've got a site plan actually.
Okay.
It's going to take me a second to find it.
Now we'll come back to that one. All right, we'll go move to ordinance 1252 by Council Lady Huezo and others. Changes the name of a portion of McGavick Pike to Night Valley Drive.
Move approval.
Now move approval. Properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? We recommend approval. We're back on ordinance 1251 by Councilman Kendall. Abandons a portion of alley number 931 right-of-way. We have a motion and a second. And Council Lady Johnson, you good to go?
Yes, good to go.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. We recommend approval. All right, that's everything that I've got on my agenda, and we stand adjourned.